Well, hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Beyond Your Radio's Unknown Sundays 2024. This is the finale. It's time to talk about another band, artist, or something in the music multiverse that might be relatively unknown, missed, that our watchers, collectors, listeners may be interested in, a rabbit hole to go down from the past, or in this case, the very near present. Please remember that this is an extension of the article section of beyondyourradio.com. You can find all the full details written there by me. The idea for this show struck me one night as I continued to listen away to the multitude of records that have piled up in my listening queue or from my handwritten notes all over the place of the possibilities lists that actually were not on my spreadsheet radar. It was truly amazing to me that while I was compiling, reordering, and juxtapositioning, relisting album after album in consideration for the album of the years, uh, uh, it just became unreal to me of the immense amount of albums that were still getting great overall ratings. Now, don't get me wrong; they were overall ratings that were superlative, but there were very few people that had chimed in. There is a database on the internet that does this. As a matter of fact, there's two of them. When there's a few, you think it might not mean much, but when there's hundreds of people that scored an album and it's scored heavily, that's kind of nice too. So a few times it was not even a handful, but could a handful of people be right? Oh, the disorder I have for music. Thank you, Daniel Levitin. Wait, wasn't that the boring radio caster from Good Morning Vietnam? Greetings and salutations, Dan Levitan. Oh, well, anyway, for enabling my obsession, because this our writer actually wrote a book called "This Is Your Brain on Music," and I'm pretty sure that I kind of know what my brain's like on music, and I'm sure my wife does as well. I just can't put 2024 to bed. I can't. It may take me half the year to do so. Hell, next week's album review Saturdays 2025 has all 2024 albums, all quintessential to the fold, maybe, right? The curse, the disorder, the clutches of my addiction are real. They're just very real. But that's fortunate for you because I've decided to take on albums that pretty much are very, very well done. And maybe they could have been contenders in this year, but they were lost, very lost, in the ocean of recordings, public bullshit opinions, as well as impossible attention deficit marketing disorder that continues to plague our ability to weed into greater findings in audio. Don't get me wrong, it also allows them to drop a whole bunch of stuff so that we can find it. So it's a double-edged sword, so to speak. This is Unheard Albums of 2024 on Unknown Sundays. And here's hoping that this goes extremely well and it'll be back for 2025. So let's get into it, as I don't want you to miss any of these. And if you did happen to catch these, please chime in. Let us know what you thought. Oh, I need more truly obsessed music multiverse prisoners like myself. So if you heard these albums and you got a review on them and you thought about them, you need to join me in my lonely basement. That didn't come out right. These are the albums that I believe have been grossly overlooked. They could be considered 4 stars for sure. They not only understand the reasoning for an album, but they appreciate the work that goes into it, the attention and the listening habits of those that might partake. It is probably the very reason they do what they do, because they're not making a mountain of money doing it, probably not anywhere near even substantially having an income to support themselves. They do it for the love of music. They enjoy the creativity. They want to share it with the world of those willing to listen, sometimes for free, in order to leave their impression upon people like myself, people like you. And of course, they really like it when there's feedback, hopefully to receive an impression back. And that's what I'm willing to do for these 6 bands tonight. That's my final gift back to everyone in 2024 to the music multiverse. The following albums should be heard of: and hopefully after today, a little farther removed from as unknown as they might have been just a few minutes ago. So let's start with this one here in the middle with just a car and some fog in a setting. Who cares? The album cover doesn't grip. Well, that might be one of the reasons they didn't get a lot of play. Plus, I don't think the freaking name is on the cover either. Or is this maybe just a digital mistake? I wonder about this crap, to be honest with you. Anyway, let me go further. Stephen Buonos, Church Chords on Otherly Love Records is definitely a collaboratory process of mass proportions, I would say, and very cool proportions, let me tell you. It's got a who's who and those who work for those who's and whoville. This is a vast vegetation of variety, yet somehow tied uniquely together somehow in the degrees of separation of modular and non-modular groove. Let's hit up the ensemble of musicians so you understand the diversity of this church of assembled indie musicians. First, Devin Hoff worked with Julia Halter as well as Sharon Van Etten. Then you got John Herndon. I think some people heard that's Turquoise. Grape Dope, maybe. And Ben Boy, who worked with Ty Segall, Bonnie Prince Billy, who helped craft the core of the record before Buono enlisted a seemingly endless list of guests to the likes of Sam Barsh, who was with Kanye West and Kendrick Lamar, Nels Klein, Wilco, and his own jazz little world there that he lives in. Jeff Parker of Turquoise, or Turquoise, I keep saying Turquoise, Tortoise. You've also got Mark Shippey of US Maple. Him I didn't know as well. Josh Johnson, Leon Bridges. He's basically his musical director. You got Kenny Wollison from Bill Frisell, Tom Waite. And of course, you had Nate Walcott, Bright Eyes, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he's also worked with the marvelous Phoebe Bridgers. So in the end, he steps back to allow the accumulated talent to do their thing, and of which you will certainly be listening to, like an attentive student at a Massive Attack meets tricky white noise tossed in, scrambled with the Flaming Lips, and you'll still not be prepared for the indie subgenre explosion of sound that this album is. It brings to the Church Chords is this conductive energy. I think that was his job anyway. I couldn't help thinking of a band from the way past that this had some connection with, and I certainly was looking to see if he had a connection to this band, and I kept thinking for the first half of the album, Whale, You Bobo Humpin' Slow Bobo, and other songs that were on there, especially toward the end, that were more spooky, haunting-ish, talking about car crashes and someone dying, and then they hit me one time, you hit me two times, you hit me twice, that kind of stuff. But I can imagine the excitement and potential in the room or at the first in the musical drawing board, which this had to be one hell of a meeting. There are all kinds of vocality to appreciate, attach yourself to, find familiarities with, and then even Alone Under the Water, I think, utilizes Kristen Slip from Dirty Projectors, but she's not just singing that which was placed. She had a collaborative ear in the pen in the process of it all, which we can assume was a constant throughout this entire process and the recording sessions. Obviously, the creative process and collaboration extravaganza did not end in the vocal. It spread to every musician and instrument with distorted guitars. In fact, it's kind of an excellent freakout session from Nels Klein. I don't even know what planet he was on for this one, but it's a merging of ideas that's excellent. You got electro pop, down tempo, electronic up with crazy wazoo kind of finishes, foreign language jazz, and even an odd industrial post-punk dark wavy gravy on She Lays a Leaf. Klein is doing some craziness on. Avant-garde's its way through the previous jazz mess track prior, which is just what this album has to offer. Dig in on this wild ride with an album that the title is, I have no freaking clue or idea, nor do I understand anything about a church chord that's even applied to this album. So basically, enjoy being misled into the church of an all-encompassing chaos of genre intensified collaboration at its most creative, for sure. Next up, I decided to go to Congulus. And I do not know how to say the name of this album, but I'm going to give it a shot. Gocebe, Gocebe, and the O has the two, and the C has the lovely clef at the bottom. Well, as if the progressive rock world was not filled enough to the brim with the entries in 2024, here comes a very interesting, thrusting, pulsating, alternatively based mix. Congulus comes to us from Turkey, and they come bearing the gift of progressive rock guitar in sonic and psychedelia, with a button on dynamic integration of pace and space in which to deliver their message to the masses. And while you can hear hints of their native arena, the mass they're attending here is that of blistering, elongated Black Sabbath and the Tea Party. And that of a jam crushing maybe King Gizzard and the Wizard and the Lizard Wizard. So no need for vocal as this power trio trips it, rips it, grunts in a couple of places. So there's an underscored chant in the Zarzarum song, and bridges onward to a higher sense of progressive guitar crescendos, which I love. There's nothing the same, as this is one hell of a great straight ahead instrumental rock ride band. This is old school in so many ways that the invitation to the best album of 2024 instrumentally would still be opened. Get them on your listening docket and prepare to be loving every minute of this. And that's no Istanbul. I couldn't resist. Sorry. Next up, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. This one was actually on my list in the beginning of the year. Nell, Aura Bleu. Cambridge is known for the obtuse progressive psychedelic blues, so this one might be the closest one to some radars. Nell Aura Bleu is a cinematic intoxication of motion picture meets today's world, but of today's somewhat mystifying, dark, unexpected world. The nature of the progressiveness is hung around each member's musical neck, carefully staying on their perverse tippy toes, if you will, so as to not become the next haunting statistic in non-survival. Yes, the picture here is organ-grindingly dark, menacing macabre, and a lot like something that an Italian prog band might pull off with some desert pistola work. Yeah, Figino Morricone, eh? The album works through the timing of an honest, real horror movie, coming in at almost an hour and 25 minutes, which is probably why it's not on many lists. Longevity is usually the death of a listener, especially a popular music listener. They can't hang in there long enough. This album, however, allows breath and electronic and ambient electricity and classical tips and taps of instruments of elongated and warped audio senses. It's like an impenetrable sound when you're hooked with it. And that's the point of the Italian horror recordings, and creeping in that sinister synthesizer harmonies, which, lifting you to the ode of Italian cinema di horrific. I'm sure that's not probably even said right, but hey, it's lovely, elegant, tasteful. Kind of a little liven your dead Halloween party. It's a soundtrack for your Italian feast, odd friends, costumed orgy, maybe. Okay, I've never been to one of these parties, but if I was in charge of the music, well, I might use it. Besides the last thought, this has a great vibe. It's got great groove, throwback elegance that is worthy of a 2024 showcase. It's an accomplishment to make this as far from cheesy as this actually is. It's not a lot of cheese on it. So wicked and executed with perfect intent. Next up, we're going to go into a different environment altogether. This is right here is Baby Jane, Underworld. Now, in the year where Kim Gordon, Charlie XCX, and Dua Lipa took their shots, that's right, Kim Gordon, I said. I know you're kind of thinking, what? Although on the list of 2024, Kim Gordon has been on. And the what is probably why. More on that. Miss Baby Jane here, well, she took her shot and left hers in the underworld. Now, take away my disposition and on Brat, okay? Not a fan, don't think it was anywhere near. I buck the system in the listening world that think that this is best album of the year, as I truly liked, but was shocked by Kim Gordon's The Collective. So more on that next week on Album Review Saturdays. Wait for that review. As well as Dua Lipa's record was decent. But this one here, it's a conceptual house on repeat. Loop already used, tiredness of it all, and everyone suffers from that, except Miss Gordon. We'll get to that again. What I liked about the Underworld here from Baby Jane was the playful attempt to pull an Avril Lavigne in this. It just seems to be some of the overly familiar dance chords and electronics were more accessible on this record because of the dialogue. Her ability to switch tones has been done, no question, but this one's done very well and not too excessive either. And the songs were not elongated too long and put you in a rave club setting. They get you in and out and on to the next phase. And if that's another club, it's another club.
Girls with guns look prettier. We kills don't feel pity, yeah. Girls with guns look hot. You can watch when I take my shot. Like, girls with guns look prettier. We kill don't feel pity, yeah. Girls with guns are hot. You can watch when I take my shot. Like,
the crime here is the album stays at the pace it is instead of finding a flow that might heighten the experience. But considering the indie unknown at this level, we should be impressed at the delivery. She's not getting back like the money that Dua Lipa's getting. This isn't Kylie Minogue. Baby Jane, if the title fits, is going to grow up a bit more with each performance and listen, which will definitely bring about a greater attraction to production, originality that will become a possible signature to be reckoned with. In a genre that's starving for something. Hence the reason why Brett got so much attention in itself. I want this to be a better place for EDM-ish club music, and Baby Jane seems to have a little taste. Let's go completely different. And this is one of those where your eyes see something and you go, oh, I don't think I saw that right. Contrahouse, this is the lovely pattern down here. Let's talk about the global collaborative project that this one is. This goes over multiple continents, and the artists that are associated with it. So Gabriel Guerra, Lucas de Paiva, both Brazilian, I believe, and in the underground DJ club sound, but it's a different kind of club sound. I'll get into that in a second. Then you got Jenny Conradson, who was in a duo. She's kind of a vocalist, manipulator, we'll call her, of vocal and chords, and probably uses some heavy equipment, high fidelity equipment. And Bruce Hornsby. Yeah, Bruce. You know, the guy that did Mandolin Rain, The Way It Is, and Grateful Dead pianist, honorary member, as well as Give Me Your Notes on Stage, Play Anything I Want to, aficionado, rock, indie rock dabbler. And how he's involved outside of his comfort zone here, I have no idea. Way out of his comfort zone this time. And for that, I'm impressed. As we're we're in the jazz artists right here in question that decided this beguiling and voluptuous long form compositional study here. We're to be done with the collaborative musicianship along with other three virtuosos that don't technically play an instrument. Got your attention now, don't I? They don't even go in the studio together. This is done by sending files. But how does an underground real duo of Guerra de Paiva dance scene, Brazilian techno, mid-lounge music become attached to a prominent member of the range? And the reach across other continent to snag Conradson to do some vocal. Don't get me wrong about this music, as I absolutely love that kind of music when we were bopping in and out of early evening clubs in Bogota, Colombia. I thought the music was wonderful. It's a mix of like interesting and relaxing and engaging, which is definitely hard to pull off as far as I'm concerned. I felt like you could have been light dancing in like a Miami Vice kind of clubbish thing, and while you could also be just sipping a drink and sitting there and being entranced by everything. Maybe the hookah comes out too. I don't know. This is an arena of music that album workings might have had a dissociative property, considering that it can encompass an EP or singles and be fine. But perhaps it's the reason why you pull in the guy from the range, the guy with a range of piano, a range of seemingly testing the audio waters kind of late in his musical career. I mean, Bruce Hornsby has been doing some different things. This one is the most out of the wheelhouse, though. We all might remember him fondly as that guy, but his later albums have figured in some mildly and interesting pursuits that have been a little bit more avant-garde for at least him and his fans. So enter Jenny Conradson, which they pull in. It's actually Jenny Mary Sable. She's from Norway. And her touches on the record, well, after Hornsby, Guerra, and Paiva get in and do all these things, she's left with I guess they kind of think that they could put in a vocalist and make it engaging, and it kind of didn't happen the way everybody thought it would. She does her vocal. She kind of wanted I guess some words, and they really didn't have any. They had phrases, they had certain things, so she did those, and her voice just winds up being like a harmonic dissociative kind of add-on, and it works really well. I swear Street Corn has Sting's vocal in it, but maybe that's her or Horn, who knows what it is. And then I started to feel that mid to late 80s vibe on it, but nothing I could really put an absolute finger on and say this is like this. This is sort of an imaginative recording. It's trying to put a sound in an era that didn't have it. You're trying to put EDM in the 80s that it wasn't there. It wasn't there then. Even if you think it's elemental early Metheny group, maybe with Kraftwerk meets Herbie Hancock, but the hand that's doing that is not Herbie. It's Bruce Hornsby and these technical, astute Brazilians and their bucket or box of tricks, which are pretty good. I would say that while Hornsby's the interesting part of this, the overall recording does gather in the final mystery, which is Contrahouse. Yeah, I mean, what is it? Where is it? It can't be somewhere because they didn't work somewhere. But doesn't it feel like they did? Like they were in a studio? You listen and let me know. Finally, and of course, not finally, because there's just so many more. It's what I can get to at this point. But here's Jaubi, Sound Heart, and this one, okay? All right. I could tell by the cover and the modest description that was there. It just said jazz and something, something. And I was going to be an out of this country experience and a record to be reckoned with. First of all, great name. It puts me right in the wheelhouse of where I think it is. And I'm thinking they're going to whip me out of a car in the middle of Eastern nowhere on a jazzy night and let me just fend for myself. I'm no Jack Ryan, but I can find me some club. And I can engage with the musical maestros on a playing field of music, whether it's in my country or not. I love me some foreign activated musicianship with spin, wonderful accompaniments that are native, avant-garde ready, and willing to throw caution into a busy musical scene or street. This is a sound heart. Jaubi, bam, wheelhouse. Dave Brubeck throwdown immediately, like as if Vince Guaraldi is playing the piano on this. There's plenty of bounce, and then this Pakistani group whips out the sarangi. Yes. Woo! It's bombastic. It's exactly what you need. This is upper deck virtuosity and cultural accompaniment that stirs my musical heart, my soul. Not only are the sax and horns and continually busting it as it seems, but they even got the tabla in there and the drums are popping, smashing, and crashing. For an opening jazz stopper. Ooh, fuck, why in the hell did they start with this? It should have been the ending track. Oh, hold on. You're not even halfway into this yet. They should have used it as the closer. Well, the next song, they are ripping out the tabla and he is whacking the shit out of that thing. And in a jazz motif that's just not normal. And it just reaffirms you're not in the studio here. You're in the Pakistani I don't even know where you are, but you're in a street brawl of music and it's fantastic. It's absolute bonkers in here and the sound is out of this world, but it comes back down. So basically it's like the band and the producer have you on a trampoline and then they're just trampolining your audio ass up and the audio ass down. And the question really at the end of this is the band or you going to survive the fall? I'm not going to spoil any more of this jazz fusion surprises this band has for you because they do. But I'll tell you this, if you heard this album and record sooner, it could literally tap in to any of these 2024 albums I just went through, even in the top 5. And more than likely any jazz record this year. But you take a sound heart ear to this and decide for yourselves. I want to thank you for joining me. What did you think of these albums? Were they overlooked? Certainly they were overlooked. By God, if you don't think so, please don't send anything back to me. No, I'm kidding. Are you going to go and explore these albums? If you do, let me know that you're going to, and then get back to me and say, or go, wow, Mark, I don't know. I didn't hear it the way you heard it. You must have been happy that day. Please comment, leave us a note or two, maybe click that like button, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you can catch anything we're doing on here. Hopefully in 2025, when I'm at this stage again, we do this another time because I really enjoyed this. I'll see you next week for the beginning of Unknown Sundays. And just remember, we're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course, articles, videos, and the podcast. Next week. Whew, I'm shaking already. Albums, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on or recall from our musically demented past. Go beyond your radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. And remember to join me tomorrow for the number 2 album of 2024. It's one of these jazz fusion records that this Jaubi would go at, but it's got my boy on it. So here we go. Thanks for watching and happy listening.